Hey, I always like talking about offensive line recruiting, and I don't mean that jokingly. It's been such a high-end part of Notre Dame football recruiting for many, many years. When we have a conversation about an offensive line prospect, I feel like this is the guy that can really help this football team, maybe be a starter down the line, and hopefully keep going the great tradition of Notre Dame offensive line play the last decade. So let's bring another name into the conversation, a 2024 offensive lineman, Guerby Lambert. So Guerby looks like he's a pretty big guy for a high school kid. Tell me about him.
6'7", 285 pounds, and I feel like that height weight is probably outdated. It wouldn't be
Yeah.
shocking to me if he was closer to 6'8", 300 at this point. Number 45 overall player, number 2 offensive tackle per the 2024 On3 industry ranking. And the update today that we posted on Blue and Gold, I always like to tell people, whether you're listening to Darren's show or or watching our YouTube stuff, a lot of this Notre Dame recruiting information has already been on our website hours before you're hearing it, if not days. So I always like to tell people to head to the site. And yeah, we did have this news. Elite offensive tackle. This is the headline here. Elite offensive tackle Guerby Lambert to officially visit Notre Dame. And it is going to occur in June. And then there's a lot of other good stuff on the site. So I will add that this isn't the first time I've done a headline with Guerby Lambert to visit Notre Dame. He was going to be on campus for the Blue Gold game with Boubacar Traore, his high school teammate who signed with Notre Dame in December as part of as part of the 2023 recruiting class. Neither were able to make it in. Here's a really fascinating thing, Darren. To my knowledge, Lambert's taken 2 college visits, and he's been a big-time prospect for over a year now. And they were both to Boston College. Or maybe it was just one time to Boston College, but I want to say it was 2. So he really hasn't been able to get out on the road, but expected to take that official visit to Notre Dame in June. The Fighting Irish have a couple offensive line commitments. You got Peter Jones, an interior player, Anthony Knapp, who's most likely an interior player. Notre Dame definitely wants to round out this offensive line class with a tackle or 2. Like if they land a player like Styles Prescott in the near future and state offensive lineman, who I also think is a tackle, I want to say they'll also take Guerby. Like they want to get to 4, if it's the right group. So this has been Notre Dame's really, I would say, the top offensive tackle on the board. So him scheduling an official visit in June is definitely big news. Again, cross your fingers that it comes to fruition, folks. But as of now, that visit's on.
It's sad to think in the very near future we're going to have to move on from Joe Alt, who has been a guy we've talked about a lot in the program, but looking at the mock drafts for next year, top 10 prospect, Mike. I mean, it's just, I know we mentioned it several times, but just an amazing story how far he's come.
Darren, I'm not lying to you. I mean, this seriously could be a situation where Lambert is a true freshman starter at Notre Dame. And it's like, wow. But also, remember, Blake Fisher, he was going to be, or he was, that first game, that Florida State game, he was a starter, Blake Fisher. So it's not totally unheard of. Guerby Lambert's just, he's a freak of nature. He's a future, NFL guy, at least in my opinion. It's kind of early to project that, but he could be a 3-year starter at Notre Dame. He really could be. And again, I don't mean to, hype him up too much, but just I'm telling you how I see it and different people I talk to. There's a lot of excitement around this young man. And I think Notre Dame could even have the inside track to land him.
Okay. We'll keep an eye on Guerby Lambert, offensive tackle. Before I ask my next question, let me set it up by having you just go through a little information, because I think people who are subscribers to your website, they follow you, they read all your stuff, so they know where this stands. I'm trying to bring in some of our listeners who maybe aren't subscribers yet, and maybe this will be another reason to join. But this is a busy time for Notre Dame coaches. They're out on the road right now.
Yeah. So there's a spring evaluation period, which really is it's right there in the name, what it is. It happens in the spring. So mid-April to end of May. It's an evaluation period. So we'll talk about an offer that Notre Dame extended based on this spring evaluation period. Like they went out and saw a player and offered him in the 2024 class. And, like there's coaches who are really looking at their 2025 and 2026 boards. Like they want to get eyes on these recruits. So that's like a huge part of the evaluation process, obviously. And yeah, the spring evaluation period, it happens from mid-April to end of May. Notre Dame didn't hit the road until April 27th. They had spring ball, right? They're not going to pack up their bags and, go before the, conclusion of spring practice. And then they had a few days to kind of put a bow on spring ball. So, yeah, no head coach on the road during this period. Marcus Freeman, was doing his world travels during this time. That's what he's done this year and last year. He was at, he was in DC or something in New York, and then at Kentucky Derby. Like he's doing all sorts of stuff. And I even saw Notre Dame did their own, blog, like Marcus Freeman travels. Yesterday he was in South Bend, so we need like a local reporter just standing outside of, Freeman's office to see where he's at. So, yeah, no head coaches on the road, but the 10 assistants are out just checking in at the high schools of their top 2024 targets. That's part of it. There's a bump rule in place where, they're not really allowed to have in-depth conversations, but if you happen to bump into them, you could say hi, I guess. The stupidest rule, but I guess it's not too stupid, because if the college coaches could just pull kids out of class and talk to them for a half hour, then when are the kids ever going to learn anything? But I guess also the bump rule might be going away. So who the heck knows, Darren? NCAA is always doing things. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah, you're checking in on top 2024 targets at those high schools, commits as well. Like Joe Rudolph's been to, Anthony Knapp's high school, offensive line commit for the Irish of Georgia. He's been to his high school twice. I think it was today and then last week. And then, yeah, you're learning about other prospects who you might want to offer as well.
Okay. With that being said, who's impressed you? Who's made an impact on the recruiting trail from an assistant coach's perspective?
I've been pretty impressed with Gino Gaduli, and I wrote about this in an article Monday morning called The Gold Standard at blueandgold.com. And I'm really not trying to throw shade at Tommy Rees when I say what I'm about to say, but it feels different. Like from what I gather and talking to sources and, whether it's the high school coaches, the players, the parents, whatever it be, like Gaduli is a recruiting junkie. Like the guy lives to recruit, and that's the perfect Marcus Freeman quarterbacks coach. I mean, we talked about it last week, Darren. Gaduli's already offered 2 2026 quarterbacks. When does Notre Dame offer freshmen? It's not often. In my 4 years on the beat, I can think of 3 times Notre Dame offered a freshman quarterback. Those 2, and then when Reese offered Bryce Underwood in 2021, I want to say. And Underwood's like the top quarterback in the 2025 class. The Irish are still hoping to land him. So just, Gaduli's just work ethic on the recruiting trail. How many 2025 quarterbacks and 2026 quarterbacks he's gone out to see. Again, not meaning any disrespect to Tommy Rees, but just Gaduli just seems to really love recruiting. And it just feels different.